Welcome, everybody. This is the DVMUG Zoom meeting. It's Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. So today is the fifth Tuesday, which is normally what we do Q&A, but there was a lot of news last week. Everything was updated and came a couple videos about that. So we got that, and then we'll do our Q&A. So here we go. Go forward, please. There we go. These are our news articles. Most of these are all about what Apple's doing, all the updates and such. Okay. Of course, if you haven't heard or you haven't poked at your computer, every version of the OS went to 26.4. Everything's in sync now. This was the Mac OS, and these are not just security updates, although some of the security updates, as you will see later, are very important and need to be done. So there's going to be two videos, one about the Mac OS and one about the iPhone. Also, as usual with major updates, there was Sequoia and Sonoma updates, which include no new features, just security updates. So you're covered for 3 versions. So we'll be doing that. Also, older watches, iPhones, and iPads also got security updates. So the watch went back, I think, to version 5 got updates, all the way from 5 to maybe just 5 and just 8, but look at your devices and do the updates. Okay, this is the warning. Apple is now sending critical security alerts for these things. That's the first time I've ever seen these. They pop up on your screen, critical alert. You need to do this now. Supposedly they're pretty serious. Worse on the older computers. They're targeting the older iOS and iPads that don't have the latest 26 versions of. So these are probably more important than anything else. And people with older phones typically don't think there's updates or don't look for them. So heads up if you got older phones. Okay. Apple confirms the Mac Pro is dead. No new models, further models planned. So rest in peace, the Mac Pro. No, goes way back to the G3. Really no need for it anymore. The Studio is same processor as the Mac Pro, and it's cheaper. So it probably doesn't really affect anybody here. I've mentioned this before, I think last week or two. External storage prices are being consumed by AI. This includes SSD drives, spinning hard drives, and memory. Apple doubled or tripled their SSD external prices. There was also an article that said, now's a good time to buy an SSD drive. Why? Because it's only going to get worse. So get it now before the price goes up. I mean, literally, I went to buy one Amazon and yeah, they're double or triple the price. It's crazy. I'm actually digging out some of my old 250 gigs that were getting pretty cheap because now they're 75 to $100 for a 256. Okay. Comments or questions about any of that Apple stuff? No? Okay. This is not an Apple story, but YouTube's new cheaper plans are now available to everyone. So this is a pretty good deal for YouTube TV. There was always one price, $83 a month for everything. Now you can pick plans like they have a news, an entertainment, and a sports. Still get everything, but you can package them like the sports one. I'm not interested in the news and the general entertainment, so it's $20 cheaper. If you just want the entertainment, and you don't want the sports, you can get it down to 55 a month, I think. So that's a good deal. Rick went for it. He didn't care about sports or news, so he dropped his from 80 something down to 60 something. They were rolling it out, and not everybody got it at once, and I was waiting for it. I actually haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I'm going to, definitely in football season. So also a good deal right now is Paramount Plus for 2 months for $2.99, including the premium channel, which is for either one, which is regularly $13 a month. I think you can get it for $2.99 a month for the next 2 months. That's a pretty good deal if you want to check that out. I think it's only good. I think it might end today, as a matter of fact. I think it ends on the 31st. Yeah, that's today. So there you go. Any questions about that? So we have 2 videos. First
Before you
one,
move on,
go ahead.
can I, regarding your SSD prices, and I just have to reiterate and add to it this. Oh, I'm looking for including spinning hard drives.
Spinning hard
Even
drives are getting hard to get and pricey too.
even spinning hard drives are almost 3 times as expensive right now as
Exactly.
any as it was. And the thing is that we're getting pushed to getting spinning hard drives because like person like me, I have a hard drive attached to my Apple router, and I'm using it for time machine backup. Well,
Yeah.
and I won't be able to do it because in OS 27, because they're not going to support Apple File Protocol anymore. So I'm going to have to go with a NAS, and I'm looking for hard drives, and it's painful. So
Yeah, well, I
expensive.
got stacks of 3.5 inch hard drives that have been pulled from upgrades we've done over the years at the office. And they were checked out and erased, and they're perfectly fine. They're now, some of them, the bigger ones, a lot of them are 1 terabyte. They're useful for a backup. You only have a 256 machine, which is the standard. At 1 terabyte's fine for a backup.
Yeah.
They're 3.5 inches, so you'd have to get a 3.5 inch case, not the cheap little 2.5. So it has to have a
Hmm.
power supply. So yeah, yeah. I used to have lots of 2.5 inch 1 terabytes from pulls we upgraded SSDs on, and unfortunately, I pretty much used them all up for time machine backups. So I'm kind of out of them. Used so there you
Hmm.
go. There you go. Definitely don't be buying no SSD for no time machine. You're really gonna pay because the bigger ones are really expensive. Okay, these are the 2 videos we got: iOS 26.4 and macOS 26.4. One of them, first one's from Apple Insider, I think, and the second one's from Gary. Okay, here we go. All right, so start this. Here we
Apple just
go.
released iOS 26.4 to the public, and it's a pretty decent upgrade, especially if you're an Apple Music user or a video podcast lover. So let's just jump into what's new with iOS 26.4. Now, this one is going to be kind of hard to show on camera, so we'll get it out of the way early. But if you type really fast, or if you're like me and use the swipe to type a lot, and notice just how buggy and falling behind the keyboard has been over the last, I don't know, forever, or it's been like super accurate when you're trying to type really fast. Apparently, Apple has fixed that here in 26.4. Let me know in the comments if you've updated and noticed a difference. I have not used 26.4 on my main device, so I couldn't tell you right at the second, but my first few tests kind of seems like it, but who knows? So let me know in the comments down below if you've noticed a difference. Moving on to big changes, with Apple Music, you now get a new playlist playground feature that lets you create playlists with a text-based prompt. Now, in the Apple Music app, there's an option to type in an idea and you'll get automatic song suggestions for a playlist. Apple does have a few preset suggestions like morning coffee music, hip hop party songs, things that you're probably not going to search. I tried that and I tried my own. You can type in any idea, mood, or feeling, and you'll get results based off of those prompts. From there, the Playlist Playground feature will automatically generate a list of about 25 songs along with a custom title. Playlists that you create can be customized further with additional text prompts, and you can select a cover and a description if you want to. It took a bit of time for the playlist to generate, but it does give you a good mix of artists that you typically listen to, like already, and then some that are prominent in that genre if whatever you typed in exists. So I did pull up Spotify and I tried it out, did its AI generated playlist feature, which is pretty much the same thing. And weirdly enough, it focused on artists that I don't normally listen to a bit more, which is interesting because I am predominantly a Spotify user, so it definitely knows what I like. And I figured it would be more focused on my listening history, but it kind of didn't do that. And Apple did a nice blend of what I thought it was going to do, where it picked a lot of the artists I already listened to and then chose a couple that I might not know about. While I think I might like the songs a bit more with what Apple chose, Spotify did get the more obscure description kind of nailed down with the genre that I was thinking of, while Apple kind of went a bit more vague. Either way, this is a pretty cool feature. Let me know in the comments what playlists you decided to generate. And yeah, I'll have to try out the same prompts. Speaking of features that Spotify already has, Apple Music now features concerts near you, which will help you find shows in your area and tour dates for the artists that you're a fan of. I love this inside of Spotify. This is kind of how I know that a lot of the bands I like are coming into town before others might. And I hope Apple jumps on this and iterates and kind of gives you notifications so that you can stay up to date too. Apple Music also has redesigned albums and playlists, adding full page artwork, which looks fantastic, so much better. I've always loved the UI and the design more so than Spotify, and I kind of wish that I would transition into that direction of being a full-time Apple Music user. I've just been using Spotify for so long, it's kind of hard to let go. But updates like this is always what makes me want to switch to Apple Music full-time. Now, in iOS 26.4, Apple's also adding video podcast capabilities to the Apple Podcasts app. The feature uses HTTP live streaming, or HLS, to provide podcast creators with an unprecedented control and monetization opportunities, while also providing a high-quality viewing experience. The 26.4 podcast app will let users switch between watching and listening to shows, with videos able to be downloaded for offline viewing. HLS ensures smooth playback regardless of network connection, so videos will work on Wi-Fi or cellular. Apple says that the new video podcast will integrate with existing Apple Podcast features, including personalized recommendations and editorial suggestions in the new category sections. Now, as someone who also runs a podcast, by the way, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the Mac Rumor Show podcast. We've done like almost 200 episodes. I think we're approaching here soon. So yeah, let me know if you haven't already checked it out, or if you are a listener. We greatly appreciate your support, but I'm not entirely sure how that process is going to be for creators still. I mean, this came out quite a few weeks ago in a beta, and I still don't really have clarification on how I can get our podcast videos up there, but here, Apple used this one by Kiki Palmer, and that one was already available, so I could show you what it looks like on camera. But yeah, I'm hoping that a lot of the podcasts that I listen to will also go in this direction, because I don't like to go to YouTube to listen or watch podcasts. I listen to it in the podcast app. There is a new ambient music widget for the home and lock screen, which supports playing different built-in ambient music options for sleep, productivity, well-being, and more. Also new in 26.4 are some emojis. There's 8 new ones to be precise, including an orca, a trombone, landslide, ballet dancer, and this distorted squishy face that we saw in the iPad video for the iPad Pro, and they kind of squished that emoji down. You kind of get that option now, which I absolutely love. Let me know your favorite new or old emoji in the comments down below. Better yet, comment with your favorite new or old emoji in the comments down below. Freeform Creator Studio is live in iOS 26.4, allowing Creator Studio subscribers to access new Freeform features. The Creator Studio for Freeform adds a dedicated content hub that houses the Freeform shape options, and users will also be able to access free, high-quality content like graphics, photos, and illustrations that are not available to the non-paying subscribers. Plus, there are AI capabilities for creating and editing images. The Reminders app has a new Urgent section. Reminders that have Urgent toggled on during creation will show up here, but also new in 26.4 is that you can quickly mark reminders as urgent. So if you've already got one made and you forgot to mark it as urgent, or maybe you want to make it urgent, at any point, just go ahead and long press and select the urgent option. Purchase sharing now finally lets adult members in family sharing groups use their own payment method when making purchases without having to rely on the family organizer's default method, which is nice. So my wife and I, we use our Apple Card for all of our payments, but let's say she wants to use her own credit card for something. She can now choose to do that instead of relying on me, who is the organizer's default method. And that's it. Would love to hear from you on all of these new features that 26.4 has to offer. There are some other ones out there, some accessibility and things like that. You could check out the link in the description down below for a full breakdown of everything. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think about iOS 26.4. This has been Dan with Mac Rumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.
Okay. Mostly about the music and podcasts, but there are some other stuff. Go ahead. You got your hand up, Bruce.
Yes, I just want to add to this 26.4. For those of you that will be updating, it's a sort of little different update than normal. It just downloads and it says it's going to take 5 minutes. What's the longest 5 minutes I ever set through? Maybe 15 minutes or so. It still says 5 minutes, but it eventually does it and it's over with. So don't panic. It'll finish. Jan's got a question.
Has everybody else been offered the update? It doesn't show up on my machine. I probably can get it if I want to, but are they still, rolling it out in areas or
They
something?
always roll it out. It could be 2 weeks before you get it. If you manually go look, it'll be there.
Yeah.
They can't
No,
have they can't have everybody go do it at once.
Okay, but when I go to settings or anywhere and look, it doesn't say you can download it if you want to or something.
Oh
But,
yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
most
Not
certainly
here.
should.
I just did it because I was curious about it. To go to general update, settings, general update, and there it was. I mean, I have automatic updates on, but of course I wasn't part of the initial rollout. So you
We're
can
talking
do it.
about
No,
we're
it
talking about the
doesn't.
Mac.
Yeah. Well, and it's not on my phone either.
It's not
Oh, go
available
look
on your
again.
phone?
I don't know why it wouldn't be there unless
Yeah.
your phone doesn't support it.
Who'd you
The
piss off now,
15, I
Dan?
think it would. What?
I said, who'd you piss off now?
Are you currently on some version of 26?
Yes.
Then it should be there.
It should be available, correct.
Right. I just did all the upgrades last night, and it was a little tricky because I have an old phone and an older watch, and the watch took a few extra steps for me to be able to upgrade it.
When you go
Thank you for
and
that.
look and you go to
No, I did it, but it was
software
interesting.
update,
It took a few more
it won't
steps.
just be there sometimes. It'll say checking for updates, and it'll take a really long time checking before it get there. So don't just go there and say it's not there. Look and see up at the top. It'll say checking for updates.
Or check for updates.
Right.
Or you need to check for updates, and then it says
Right.
checking, and it just rolls. It's got a little scroller, and it'll make. Sometimes it takes a really long time for
So
it to even find it.
what's different now that wasn't before is I could not directly just upgrade the watch. I had to do it from the phone. And that's
You
new.
always have to get the iOS update first and then do
No,
the
I'm not talking about
watch.
I couldn't do it. Yeah, I understand that. You got to do the phone, then the watch. But I had done the phone and I was doing the watch and it wouldn't do it had
Okay.
downloaded, but it wouldn't do the install. I had to go back to the phone and ask it to install, and then it installed. And that hadn't happened before. That's all I'm saying.
On the phone, usually what it says is it downloads it and then it sits there and it doesn't install it until you say install. Then you click install and then it says preparing. So it downloads, it shows downloading, and it'll sit there with an install. You click the install and then it installs. It doesn't just automatically transition
I
into
know
the
that,
install.
but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is I couldn't do it on the watch. I had to do it from the phone. This is the first time I had to do it that way. That's all I'm saying. I've done it. It's all done, but it was a little different.
That's good information for those that'll probably run into it.
Because I have an older phone and an older watch. So
Yeah, well, the older phones sometimes work a little different than the newer ones. I noticed one thing that drives me nuts is in the app store. I go every morning. Doesn't automatically ever update anything. When I wait a couple of days, there'll be 25 of them in there. So every morning I go click the app store, click on my head, in the top right corner, and then you used to scroll in the middle and it would find the updates. Well, it doesn't do that anymore. There's actually a line down in your account that says updates now that wasn't there before. It's like I had to go look on the iPad. What am I doing wrong? I'd swipe down, the whole thing would quit instead of getting the updates. It's like they put in maybe people didn't understand that before you used to have to swipe to find the updates. So now there's actually a line that says updates and you click there and then it shows up. Okay, shall we move on to the next one? There we go. This is Gary. No, this is not Gary. That's one we just watched. Right, go forward. Yeah, this is Gary. Come on, boy.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's take a look at what's new in macOS 26.4. This week, Apple released macOS 26.4 alongside other OS updates for all the other devices. It comes with a handful of new features and changes on your Mac. To get it, you want to go to System Settings, and then you want to go to General, and then Software Update. And it will check for software updates here. If you already have it, you'll see your Mac is up to date. So let's start with a change to Freeform. If you look at the Freeform icon, first of all, you'll see that it's been updated. It's now using the icon that was promised to us when Apple released Apple Creator Studio. This is the new icon for Freeform. And if you run Freeform, it doesn't at first look any different. But the big new change is only really for Apple Creator Studio subscribers. So if you don't subscribe to Apple Creator Studio, you still get to use everything that was in Freeform before. But Apple Creator Studio users will get extras. Like if you click up here, you'll see it now gives you the Content Hub. It's the same Content Hub that's in Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. So you'll be able to use some of the clip art and stock photos that Apple provides. You'll also be able to generate images using AI just from a description. Also, if you have your own images in here, you can use Generate from Image to change it into, say, an illustration or change the background, for instance, like that. So nothing really new. You could already have done this in Pages, Numbers, and Keynote with Apple Creator Studio, but now you can do it in Freeform as well. If you're not an Apple Creator Studio user, you will still have some changes here at the top, but you can still get to everything you had before. You just now have this one button here, and you won't be able to use the Apple Creator Studio Content Hub and image generation stuff, but you could still go, for instance, to Shapes here and access all of your shapes. In Safari, there's an addition to how tabs can work, or actually a return to a previous feature. If you go to Safari Settings here, and then you go to Tabs, you'll see that you can now choose between tab layout separate, which is how I've got it up here, or compact, which will then put everything in one bar all the way across the top. You still have the separate tabs, but when you're in this mode, you would actually edit the address by just using the tab's title rather than having a separate spot above. This was previously available in Safari. It was removed. A lot of users wanted it back, so Apple added it back. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 3,000 others that support MacMost through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You could read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now, in reminders, in a previous update, we got the ability to set a reminder to urgent. And when you do that, you'll get an alarm on your iPhone. So it's setting an alarm. You could do the same thing in reminders on your iPhone. This is handy when you have an extremely important reminder and you don't just want a notification, you want an alarm. Now, that feature isn't new. What is new is they added it to the menu system, which it wasn't there before. So I could select this item here and go to Edit. And now I've got Mark as Urgent with a keyboard shortcut. So you could use Shift Command U as the default shortcut to make something urgent or not. You also notice that you have an urgent smart list here that shows you all of the reminders you have that are marked as urgent. And you can go to View, Show Smart List, and have that turned on or off. You can also just go to Urgent, regardless of whether or not it's listed here in the left sidebar. Now, a new improvement just for MacBook users is in the battery settings, you can now set a maximum charge amount. So instead of having your MacBook charged to 100%, for instance, you can have it charged to 95 all the way down to 80%. The idea here is it may increase your battery longevity, how many years your battery lasts, if you say only charge to 80%. But of course, if you find yourself running short of battery power at the end of each day because you use it a lot while on the go, then you may want to have a higher number. If you choose 100%, it actually asks you if you just want to do that for the next charge, really just for today, or if you want to set that as the charge amount permanently. Now, there's some new things that are a little harder to trigger or to show here in a tutorial. For instance, there's a new feature now that if you're using family sharing and you're an adult, but you're not the head of the plan, you can now choose your own payment option. So use your own credit card instead of the head of the plan's card. Another is that macOS 26.4 is needed for support for the new AirPods Max 2. So these were just released and are shipping now. And I assume they wouldn't work right, or maybe just wouldn't show the new options available if you're on something before 26.4. Another one is subtitle and caption settings are easier to find when viewing media, with real-time preview available directly from the captions icon. I can't seem to demonstrate any of this here inside of the TV app. And there's the captions icon just as it was before. If I click on it here, I seem to get the same options. It suggests that perhaps there's a way to get to settings for closed captioning and subtitles, but there isn't. You can still get to them by going into settings and then accessibility and then hearing under captions, and you've got all of these options here that you can set, and it will affect how subtitles look, but you can't access them through here as it's kind of suggesting. Another change is that if you're still running old Intel-based apps, you're using something on your Mac called Rosetta 2. What this does is it translates the code in the app from the Intel-based code to the Apple Silicon code. This works seamlessly. So you may have Intel apps that you're using that you don't even notice. I checked and I didn't actually even have any Intel apps anymore. After all, it's 2026 and Apple started transitioning to its own Silicon code in 2020. But if you do have an old app, you may see a warning message saying you that support will be ending soon. Apple has said it's still going to support Rosetta 2, not just in macOS 26, but also in macOS 27 coming later this year. It'll only be in macOS 28 coming a whole year and a half from now that support would be dropped. So still plenty of time for any lagging developers to update their apps. And finally, we have a new set of emoji characters that you can now use in macOS 26.4 and iOS 26.4 and so on. You can use the emoji and special character viewer and search for them using these terms and others. They're all just standard icons except the ballet dancer where you can choose different skin colors. It's the international group, the Unicode Consortium, that picks new emoji characters, and then all the companies like Microsoft and Samsung and Apple then have to come up with their own artwork for them and put them in the operating system within a given amount of time. So Apple didn't come up with these as the new set for this year. They are just complying with the organization's list of new emoji. So that's what's new, a pretty standard mid-year update for macOS. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Basically it for the video. So any questions or comments about all the new stuff, the updates or anything, or we're gonna move on to general Q&A and start a new recording?
Well, you know, I just a comment. He mentioned Freeform. I never used Freeform, and some time ago I created my home network schematic, in LibreOffice, and boy, the icons there, the artwork is just horrible.
No.
So I mean, not that they're bad, but anyways, I went into Freeform, and I just started looking for a Wi-Fi signal, and they got a pretty good looking Wi-Fi signal. Well, I'd have to redo my network in Freeform now.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who uses Freeform Basic. It's a whiteboard that can be shared. And you can put anything you want in there from other spreadsheets or pages, or I didn't even know if LibreOffice had a drawing component.
It does draw,
Really?
yeah, and
I
it's
didn't
pretty
know
good
that.
too, real good. Set up for it, and it's all kinds of different ones, technical,
Huh.
electronic, basic, and so on and so forth. Except,
Okay, shall we move on to Q&A?
Sure.
So we'll do that. I'll say DVMUG members who this previous portion will be public on YouTube. DVMUG members can find the Q&A on with a link on the DVMUG BBS. So I will find my stop recording.